The jacket hangs on the hook by the back door, a silent guardian in the dim light of the morning. It's an old M65 field jacket, the olive drab green faded to the color of dusty sage. The cuffs are frayed, the brass zipper is stiff, and if you press your face into the collar, you can still catch the faintest scent of him. A mix of sawdust, engine oil, and the crisp, clean smell of an autumn afternoon. It's the smell of my Daniel, most days. I leave it there. It's a relic. A museum piece from a life that feels like it belonged to someone else. But today, the November wind is rattling the window panes with a special kind of malice, and the cold has a way of seeping right into your bones. My own coat, a thin thing I bought on clearance, feels about as useful as a paper bag against this chill. I run my hand over the jacket's rough cotton shell. It's been a year. 365 days of waking up to the silence, of making coffee for one, of seeing his boots still sitting by the door because I can't bring myself to move them. People say it gets easier. They lie. It just gets quieter. The grief doesn't shrink. You just build a bigger, emptier room around it. Putting on the jacket is a ritual. My arms slide into the worn lining, and for a moment, it's like a hug. It's too big for me, of course. The shoulders slump past my own and the sleeves cover my hands completely unless I roll them up. It makes me look small and lost. A child playing dress up in her father's clothes. But it's warm. Not just from the thick material, but from the memories woven into every thread. I remember the day he bought it, at a surplus store downtown. He'd held it up, a grin splitting his face. Look at this, Sarah. A classic. They don't make him like this anymore. He wore it for everything, working on his old truck, raking leaves, our long walks in the woods behind our house. He even wore it the day he left for his last deployment, his broad shoulders filling it out, making him look like the hero he was. He kissed me goodbye on the porch, the rough fabric of his collar scratching my cheek. I'll be back before you know it, he'd whispered. He was a man of his word, my Daniel. He just never specified in what condition he'd be back. On the left shoulder, there's a patch. It's not colorful or flashy like some of the ones you see. It's subdued, mostly black and gray, a simple design that most people wouldn't even notice. A downward pointing sword with a pair of lightning bolts behind it. Daniel never talked about what it meant. When I asked, he'd just smile and tap the side of his nose. Need to know basis, sweetheart. And all you need to know is that I love you. It was part of his world. A world of quiet professionals and unspoken sacrifices that I was only ever allowed to glimpse from the edge. Today, I have to go into the city. There's a meeting with a man from the VA, something about paperwork that's gotten lost in the bureaucratic shuffle. It's the last thing I want to do. Going into the city feels like visiting a foreign country now. It's loud and crowded, and everyone seems so busy, so full of purpose, while I feel like I'm treading water, just trying to keep my head up. I pull on my worn-out jeans and a simple sweater, then shrug on Daniel's jacket. I look in the hall mirror and sigh. I look like a stray. The jacket swallows me whole, but the cold is biting, and the thought of being wrapped in his arms, even symbolically, is the only thing giving me the courage to open the door. The bus ride is long and shaky. I keep my head down, watching the gray, tired-looking suburbs bleed into the gleaming steel and glass of the city. I clutch the worn canvas of the jacket's sleeve. I feel Daniel's presence in its weight, a comforting pressure on my shoulders. It's my armor. The cafe where I'm supposed to meet the VA representative is one of those new trendy places. It's all reclaimed wood, exposed brick, and the smell of coffee that costs more than my lunch. The place is packed with young, beautiful people. Women in stylish coats with perfectly coiffed hair, men in sharp suits tapping away on laptops. And then there's me, in a giant, faded green jacket that looks like it's been through a war. Which, I suppose it has. I order a simple black coffee, my voice barely a whisper. The barista, a young man with a tattoo of a feather on his neck, gives my jacket a quick, dismissive once-over. I can feel my cheeks start to burn. I find an empty table in the corner, a small two-seater, and I sit down, trying to make myself as small as possible. I pull the jacket tighter around me, as if it can make me invisible. The meeting isn't for another 20 minutes. I sip my coffee, the bitter taste doing little to calm the nervous fluttering in my stomach. The warmth of the cup is a small comfort in my cold hands. I can't help but overhear the conversation from the table next to mine. It's a group of 4 people, probably in their late 20s, all dressed impeccably. 2 men, 2 women. They're laughing, their voices bright and carefree. Then I hear a girl's voice, lowered to a conspiratorial whisper, but still loud enough for me to hear clearly. "Oh my God, Chloe, look at that jacket." Seriously? My heart plummets into my stomach. I freeze, my coffee cup halfway to my lips. "Don't look up," I tell myself. "They're not talking about you. They can't be." But then a man's voice chimes in. A low chuckle. I think my grandpa had one of those. He used it for gardening. After it was too gross to wear anywhere else, a ripple of laughter goes through their group. "It's probably vintage," the first girl says, her tone dripping with sarcasm. Like, from the Salvation Army historic section, the shame is a physical thing. It's a hot, creeping tide that starts in my chest and floods my face. I want to sink through the floor. I want to stand up and scream at them, to tell them what this jacket means, who it belonged to. I want to tell them that the man who wore this jacket was worth more than all 4 of them put together. But I don't. The words are trapped in my throat, choked by a lump of grief and humiliation. So I just sit there, staring into my coffee cup, pretending I can't hear them. I try to focus on the warmth of the jacket, but now it feels different. It no longer feels like armor. It feels like a target. The weight that was comforting now feels heavy, a burden of memory that I'm forcing the world to look at. Maybe they're right. Maybe it is just an ugly old jacket. Maybe I look ridiculous. I start to question myself. Why did I wear it? I could have just been cold. I could have layered up. Instead, I chose to walk around draped in my own sorrow, making it everyone else's problem. The thought makes me feel even smaller. One of the women at the table gets up to use the restroom. As she walks past my table, she doesn't even look at me, but she says to her friends, loud enough for me to hear perfectly, "I just hope it doesn't smell." That one cuts the deepest. Because it does smell. It smells like him. And the idea that they find that scent, my most precious sensory memory, disgusting. It breaks something inside me. A tear I hadn't realized was forming escapes and slides down my cheek, hot with shame. I quickly wipe it away with the back of my hand, hoping no one saw. I can't stay here. I can't face the VA man. Not like this. I feel exposed, raw, and utterly pathetic. I just want to go home, back to the silence, where no one can judge the way I choose to grieve. I start to gather my things, my hands trembling. I'll just leave. I'll call and reschedule. I'll make up an excuse. As I stand up, fumbling with my purse, I keep my eyes fixed on the floor. I just need to get to the door. I can feel the stares of the group at the next table on my back. I imagine their smirks, their silent judgment. Each step toward the exit is an agony. I'm halfway to the door when a man moves into my path. I stop short, nearly bumping into him. I look up, annoyed and flustered, ready to mumble an apology and scurry away. He's an older gentleman, probably in his late 60s. He is tall and lean, with a full head of silver hair and a face etched with the kind of lines that speak of authority and experience, not just age. He's wearing a simple, well-tailored gray suit, and he holds himself with a quiet dignity that seems to command the space around him. I'd noticed him earlier, sitting by himself reading a newspaper, a picture of calm in the bustling cafe. He isn't looking at my face. His eyes, a piercing blue, are fixed on the shoulder of my jacket. On the patch, his expression changes. The polite, neutral look he had on his face melts away, replaced by something else entirely. It's a look of profound, almost startled recognition. His posture, already ramrod straight, seems to become even more rigid, more formal. The whole cafe seems to fade into the background. It's just me and this man, locked in a silent moment of confusion on my part and intense focus on his. Then, he does something that makes my world stop turning. He raises his right hand to his brow, his fingers straight and his thumb tucked in. It's a salute, not a casual, movie-style gesture. It's a crisp, perfect military salute. It's sharp and precise and filled with a weight of respect so heavy it feels like it could crack the floorboards. The cafe, which had been buzzing with conversation and the clatter of cups, falls utterly silent. I can feel every eye in the room turn toward us. The laughing group at the nearby table, the barista, the other patrons, everyone. The silence is deafening. My brain struggles to catch up. I'm just standing there, a deer in the headlights, this distinguished man in a suit saluting. Me? No, not me. He's saluting the jacket. He's saluting the patch. He holds the salute for a long moment, his eyes never leaving the patch on my shoulder. Then he lowers his hand slowly, with the same precision. He finally looks at my face, and his blue eyes are soft, filled with a gentle understanding that feels like a balm on my wounded soul. "Ma'am," he says, his voice a low, steady baritone that carries easily through the silent room. "Forgive my forwardness. I can only shake my head, unable to form words. My throat is tight, and my eyes are burning with a fresh wave of tears. But these are different. These are not tears of shame. I recognize that insignia," he says, his gaze flicking back to the patch for a second. "I served with men who wore that patch. There aren't many of them. They are the very best this country has to offer. The quietest professionals, the bravest souls." He looks me in the eye again. "Your husband?" he asks gently. It's not a question, really. It's a statement. I can only nod. A single, jerky movement. A sob escapes my lips. A sound I can't hold back. "I thought so," he says, a sad smile touching his lips. He doesn't offer pity. He offers something far more valuable, shared understanding. "He was a hero, ma'am. A true American hero." He glances over my shoulder, his gaze sweeping over the table of now silent young people. I don't turn to look at them, but I can feel their discomfort radiating across the room. Their earlier laughter now hangs in the air like something foul. They weren't laughing at an old jacket. They were laughing at a hero's legacy, and they didn't even know it. The general didn't need to say a word to them. His salute was a rebuke more powerful than any lecture. He turns his attention back to me. "My name is General Mark Peterson. Retired," he says, as if it's an afterthought. "May I buy you a fresh cup of coffee? You look like you could use one." All I can do is nod again. I feel like a puppet whose strings have been cut. He gently guides me back to my table, his hand lightly on my elbow. He pulls out my chair for me, a gesture of old-fashioned courtesy that feels both grounding and surreal. He signals to the barista, who is now staring at us with wide, respectful eyes, and orders 2 coffees. When he sits down opposite me, the silence in the cafe slowly begins to break as people, embarrassed to have been caught staring, turn back to their own conversations, though the volume is now much more subdued. The group at the next table is pointedly avoiding looking in our direction. I hear the quiet scraping of chairs as they gather their things to leave, their earlier confidence completely evaporated. "I'm sorry," I finally managed to choke out, my voice thick with emotion. "I'm Sarah. It's an honor to meet you, Sarah," General Peterson says. "The honor is all mine." He doesn't press me for details about Daniel. He doesn't ask how he died or where he served. He understands that the patch says it all. He knows the price of wearing it. They were laughing. I whisper, the shame returning for a brief moment. At the jacket, the general's face softens. "They don't understand," he says simply. "They see an old piece of cloth. They don't see the integrity it takes to wear it. They don't see the sleepless nights you spent waiting for him to come home. They don't see the courage it took for him to go to the places he went. And they don't see the strength it takes for you to wear it now." His words are like a key, unlocking a year's worth of pent-up grief and pride. The tears start to fall freely now, but I don't hide them. For the first time in a long time, I don't feel ashamed of my sorrow. The new coffee arrives, and the general waits patiently for me to compose myself. He just sits there, a pillar of quiet strength, offering his presence as a shield. "He loved this jacket," I say, running my hand over the sleeve. "He said it was a classic. He wore it until it was practically falling apart. I wear it because it feels like he's still with me. I understand that completely," he says, nodding. After my service, I kept my old uniform, hanging in my closet for 20 years. My wife never understood why I wouldn't get rid of it. But sometimes an object isn't just an object. It's a testament. It's a promise. It's a memory you can touch. We sit there for nearly an hour, and he tells me not about war or battles, but about the camaraderie. He talks about the kind of men who serve in those silent elite units. He talks about their unwavering code of honor, their loyalty to each other, and the deep love they have for their families, which is what they all fight for in the end. He doesn't tell me Daniel's story, but he tells me the story of the type of man Daniel was, and in doing so, he validates every proud memory I have. He tells me that the patch represents a unit so specialized that most of the military, let alone civilians, would never recognize it. He says the men who earn it are known for their humility as much as their skill. They walk in shadows so that others can stand in the sun. He says, his voice filled with a deep, abiding respect. Your husband walked in those shadows, Sarah. And this jacket is a piece of that shadow. You have every right to wear it with pride. When the man from the VA arrives, looking flustered and apologetic for being late, he stops, dead in his tracks when he sees me sitting with General Peterson. The general stands, shakes the man's hand, and explains that he was just keeping me company. The VA man's entire demeanor changes. Suddenly, my lost paperwork becomes his number one priority. He treats me with a level of deference and respect I have never received from his office before. As we finish our meeting, the general waits for me. He walks me out of the cafe and onto the bustling city street. The wind is still cold, but it doesn't seem to bite so hard anymore. Thank you, I say, looking up at him. I don't have the words to tell you what you did for me today. You don't have to, he says, his kind eyes smiling. You've already been through enough. All I did was acknowledge a debt that this entire country owes to your husband and to you. He reaches into his pocket and hands me a business card. If you ever need anything, Sarah, anything at all, don't hesitate to call. I take the card. It just has his name, a phone number, and an email address. No mention of his rank. Like Daniel, he was a man who didn't need to advertise his importance. He gives me a final, gentle nod, then turns and walks away, disappearing into the anonymous city crowd. I stand there on the sidewalk for a long time, clutching his card in one hand and the sleeve of Daniel's jacket in the other. I look down at the jacket, at its faded fabric and frayed cuffs. It's not an ugly old piece of cloth. It's a banner. It's a flag. It's a testament to a love that was fierce and a life that was honorable. The laughter of a few ignorant people in a coffee shop seems so small now, so insignificant. Silenced by the thunderous respect of a single salute, I roll the sleeves up, exposing my hands to the cold air. I pull my shoulders back and lift my chin. For the first time in a year, the jacket doesn't feel heavy. It feels like a cape. I walk toward the bus stop, my steps sure and steady. I am the widow of a quiet professional, a brave soul, a hero, and I am wearing his jacket, and no one will ever make me feel ashamed of it again.